So do you feel as though the world seems to be out of control? In major cities across the U.S., murder rates are up an average of 23% since the beginning of the pandemic. Austin, Texas has a murder rate that's up 50%. Other violent crimes like robbery and rape are following a similar trajectory. How can anyone maintain their peace these days? That's a mystery. I've got the solution to the mystery. Well, as you can see, I'm not Sherlock Holmes. I'm Bishop Robert. Welcome to Mornings with Bishop Robert, where we answer all sorts of mysterious questions. My goal is to introduce people to the Jesus they never knew, and then help them get to know Him and His Word personally and better. So if our time together today speaks to your heart, let me invite you to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. Well, I'm using crime statistics from 2020 in the USA simply because I've got easy access to them. But news stories from around the world would tend to indicate that what's happening in the US isn't all that different from what's happening in other nations. In fact, in some cases, the other nations are worse. But we're seeing roughly 400 violent crimes per 100,000 people. That's 1.3 million violent crimes a year. Murder, manslaughter, rape and other sexual assaults, robbery, aggravated assault, mass shootings, 25 times a second, 24 hours a day. Some places are worse than others. Washington has more than double that number. California is the worst place in my nation for murders. More people are violently murdered in California than in the 24 safest states combined. So what's the key to being able to live your life and most of all, maintain your peace? Well, today's verse says, "Peace I give you." Now, we've spoken about peace before, but there were a couple points I wanted to make that we really didn't have time for in our last discussion, so let me present them for you here. When you're talking about the world's peace, it relies on the circumstances we're facing. Just hit the lottery, paid off all your debts, and now you can retire in luxury? The world says you should have perfect peace. Did the sheriff just slap the 3-day eviction notice on your door the same day they repossessed your truck? Well, the world says you should be falling apart with worry and anxiety. But that's not how the peace of Jesus works. See, He's the Lord of peace, and He didn't give us a spirit of fear. He gave us a spirit of power and love and self-control. And when we look to Jesus as the one who provides us His peace, then we can let the peace of Christ rule in our hearts. And He, the Lord of peace, gives you and me peace at all times and in every way. Now, you may not yet understand how God will provide for you in any given situation, but He still gives peace at all times. See, your understanding is not a requirement for having His peace. In fact, He describes His peace as the peace of God that surpasses understanding. He promises it'll guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. There's one of the keys. The peace of God guards our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. We're in Him. His peace is in Him. We have His peace. And He says, "My peace I give you." The second lesson we can learn today is that no one and nothing can take His peace away from us. Jesus knows what the world can do to try and take our peace. But He gave us His promises so that in Him you and I could have His peace, even in a world filled with violence and tribulation, in the midst of it all, Jesus tells us, take heart, I've overcome the world. Because he has overcome the world, nothing in the world can take his peace away from you. But be careful, because the enemy of our souls is devious and deceptive. He cannot take the peace of God from you, but he can try to trick you into abandoning it. Hey, think back to the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve had dominion over the entirety of God's creation. Everything was subject to them. The enemy could never have taken that authority from them. He had no basis to do so. So instead, he deceived Eve. She deceived Adam. And the authority that nothing in creation could take was willingly given away. Don't let the enemy do the same thing to you with the peace of Jesus. Yeah, here's another one of the keys. It's our choice to decide if we let the peace of Christ, that peace that passes all understanding, rule in our hearts, or if we give it to the destroyer of our peace, so his fear can rule in our hearts. Peace I give you, Jesus said. Keep it. Don't give it away. You're going to need it. As we wrap up, can I ask you to help me introduce people to the Jesus they never knew and his great gift of peace? I want to help them get to know him and his word personally and better. So please, like this video to help more people see it. And then click follow or subscribe. Whoops, click follow or subscribe. Wrong shoulder. So you and I can get together every day. Hey, pop your thoughts about peace in the comments section. Let me hear about how his peace has touched your heart. It's also a great place to leave a question. And one more thing. Share this with a friend. Because as you do, you're part of the team touching hearts all over the world with the love of Jesus. Thanks for helping.